Today we're going to make delicious smoked cheddar gougères, a nice light airy cream puff filled with delicious smoked cheddar and a great appetizer for your party. To get started with making these guys, we're going to have water and butter in our pot. We're just bringing that up to kind of a nice simmer, and to that we are going to add some salt and a little bit of cayenne pepper as well for some heat. So without the cayenne pepper in here, this would be the exact same technique to what you would use if you're making a cream puff, which are great in savory or sweet applications. Once you get the water boiling like this, you can reduce the heat a little bit, and we're going to add our flour all at once. So we want to use a wooden spoon for this recipe, and we're just going to keep mixing till all of our flour gets incorporated into our liquid. Once we start getting it in there, we want to make sure we don't see any lumps of flour. We're going to put it back on the heat at about medium temperature. And everything kind of will start to clump together, and it's going to start turning into a nice kind of clump. So this you want to do, cook it for about 2 minutes or so. That's going to help reduce some of the moisture in there and cook out our flour a little bit. It's going to be a good arm workout for you. And eventually this is going to start pulling away from the sides of the pan. It's just kind of starting now, but even more so than this. If you do see any lumps of flour, you can always try to kind of push those against the side of the pot to get rid of those and make sure they're evenly incorporated. Although when we mix the eggs in, there's a good chance we'll get rid of those too. You can see how it's starting to kind of form into one kind of nice ball in the middle there. At this point, we're going to be able to turn off the heat. And we want to let this cool down for a few minutes. We are going to add eggs into this. So if it's too hot, you could scramble your eggs in there. You want to just let it cool down for about 3 or 4 minutes in your mixing bowl before you keep going with the eggs. All right, so now that we've cooled down our mixture for about 4 or 5 minutes, we're going to go ahead and add our eggs. Turn the mixer on to about medium speed to medium low. You're going to try and put one at a time. I'm just going to let that go around for a little bit. You can increase the speed a little bit, or you can just leave it at the same speed as well. We've got 2 eggs in now. Mostly incorporated, so we'll go again with another egg. Always good to pre-crack your eggs, and then you make sure there's no shells getting into your final product. Once all the eggs are in there, you should have a really nice, shiny mixture that's going to be ready to pipe. All right, so I'll just turn my machine off for a minute. We're going to lower the bowl. Like I said, we'll just scrape everything down. Make sure, especially at the bottom there, you can have a bit of the flour mixture stuck down there. We'll make sure we get all of that scraped down and getting mixed in before we add our cheese and thyme in there. All right, that's looking good just like that. So now we're going to put our cheese and our chopped fresh thyme into the mixing bowl, and we just want to mix this just until it comes together. And there we go. Our mixture is ready. The next step to this is going to be filling our piping bag and getting ready to pipe our gougères. If you have a disposable piping bag, you can use that. For gougères, you usually like to use a star tip, a large star tip. I've just folded my piping bag over a little bit and kind of making my hand into a C shape so that you can hold the piping bag ready to go to fill it up. It is a good idea not to put all the filling in at once. It can be a little bit more difficult to pipe your gougères. So put about 1/3 or half of your filling in there, and that'll make it a little bit easier for you. There we go. Usually we'll kind of let this kind of shake down to the bottom so that we don't have any air pockets in there as well. That's ready to go. Just a little tip you can use so that your parchment paper isn't going all over the tray while you're trying to pipe these. I've put a little bit of non-stick cooking spray down on the bottom of my sheet pan. And now we can go with the parchment paper. You just press that down. It just holds it so that it doesn't move around on you when you're trying to pipe your gougères. So we've got our piping bag ready. Normally we twist this so that it can't come back up the top. And we want to space these out a little bit. They are going to puff up in the oven, so you don't want to pipe them too close together. And we're going to go with about 1.5 inch rounds. So we try to keep the piping bag nice and straight And then when you get to the top, you want to kind of pull up so that you don't get a big long piece of the pastry coming with you. Do that again a little bit. You come up like that. Some people like to count so they get them fairly even. But you do want to hold it nice and straight. If you get them drooping to one side or the other, they might not puff up very evenly in the oven for you. So you're going to keep going with all of these. You do want to work quickly with these as well. Once you get them all piped, you want to put them into your preheated oven and get them baking. And they're going to be delicious. Once you finish piping out all your gougères, you're going to put them into your preheated oven. They cook for about 30 minutes or so. You want to bring them out of the oven, let them cool down slightly, but for sure you want to enjoy your gougères nice and warm. A delicious appetizer for any party.